Hi guys, and oh hey look, it's actually my face. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 9. Sorry for the past couple videos that have not been of me, which I'm sure is actually kind of okay because they were pretty bookish and tea-centric. I work shift work, I work in a coffee shop, and like some days I just am not camera ready. But today I am, so yay. Today I'm bringing you guys a slightly different video. I'm mixing it up in this Vlogmas atmosphere. It's giving me some freedom to do some new things. And I thought I'd talk about comics today. I was debating about what to do today, and Taylor from Let's Get Lost in Words was like, I am really interested in comics, but like I don't know where to start with superhero comics, and that's kind of what I do. As you guys know, I did try and start a second channel and failed after about like a month. Because it is really hard to run 2 channels on YouTube, especially when you don't game super consistently. Like I do game relatively consistently, but like not all the time. But yeah, so I also stopped buying comics in physical form and started buying them in e-form. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about that, and what I'm reading right now and like what I'd recommend. I do try and read as like much female-led comics as possible. So if this isn't your type of video, I'm sorry. Tomorrow I'm sure will be something super bookish, but this is something slightly different for Vlogmas. So to start off with, I read mostly superhero comics. I read Marvel and DC. More Marvel than DC. I'm more of a Marvel fangirl than a DC fangirl, to be entirely honest with you. I find DC a little bit darker, and it tends to be very male-oriented, which I don't like as much. But they are doing some great things, so I do have some of their comics on this. I read primarily on the Comixology app, which you can kind of see. I read it on my iPad mini. I tried physical comics. They just take up a lot of space, and I just don't have the space for it. So I switched to digital when I got back into comics. Like I was into comics for like 2 months this summer, and then I went away to Toronto, and they take up so much space, and I'd rather have that space for books. So I switched to digital. So I'm just gonna go through what is on. I have like 42 titles on this. Oh boy, it's gonna be fun. This isn't even everything I have because I've taken some things off. So we're gonna go through this and talk about like why it's awesome. So the first one is Angela, Queen of Hell. This is a Marvel one. I don't know too much about Angela. I know she's from Asgard. But I think there's only like 2 issues of this out, and it just came out, and it's pretty fantastic. The artwork is pretty beautiful. I don't know if you guys can see that because the screen's kind of a bit shiny. But yeah, basically Angela's an Asgardian, so she is, if you have watched the Thor basically movies, she is from Thor's world, and she has gone to hell to recover her girlfriend, which is pretty awesome. There's like LGBTQT representation in this one. I've only read the first issue, I haven't gotten around to reading the second issue, but I really liked what I saw. The artwork was pretty nice. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. And now it's gone away. Okay, so the next one is a DC one. I'm just doing these alphabetically because that's how they're arranged on my device. Is Black Canary, which has this fantastic artwork that's like super 80s. I absolutely adore this. I don't know if you guys can, oh, you totally can't see this. This sucks. But it's really 80s, it's really fantastic. Black Canary is probably one of my favorite DC kind of superheroes. I really like what they're doing with her and her whole storyline. It's pretty great. Like, Black Canary, her power is her voice, and she can also fight, obviously. So another really good female red one. Another one that I'm kind of into a little bit, but it just started and it's interesting, and that is Captain America Sam Wilson. So no longer Bucky Barnes, no longer Steve Rogers, it is Sam Wilson, which is awesome, and he has split from S.H.I.E.L.D. So if you guys have watched like the most recent Avengers and Captain America Winter Soldier, Sam Wilson is introduced in those ones. So he's split from that. I've only read the first issue. I think the first issue is the only one out so far. So yes, it is a male-led comic, but it has an African-American man as the main characters. That's pretty fantastic because comics are not known for their diversity. So yay, diversity. You will notice this theme. I tend to read things that like have diverse characters in it. I've enjoyed it so far. There's a really interesting, like hilarious point in the first issue where like there's a supervillain and he's turning back people who are trying to cross the border illegally from Mexico. And he's like, we need to build this wall. And it's a very, very funny little like jab at Donald Trump. It's pretty great. Next one up is one that I've followed for quite a while, and that is Gotham Academy, which is a DC one. It's basically like it's kind of like Harry Potter meets the DC world in that it's like young children at a boarding school, and it's pretty great. It's pretty fantastic. They get into all kinds of shenanigans and they're trying to figure out some mysteries. It's just kind of a generally good all-around comic, also acceptable for children. Not all of these are, so you know, it's a good one that you could share with like younger siblings or, you know, your children. Yeah. Next up is The Mighty Thor, the current run. The first part of this, I would recommend reading the first 8 issues that came out. If you're getting them digitally, it's really easy to get a hold of. If you're getting them physically, it's actually kind of hard, but they've released the first trade anyways. And this is where Thor is actually a woman. And not like Thor Odin's son became a woman. Odin's son basically became not worthy of Mjolnir, his hammer, and so a woman has taken it up and she has taken on the mantle of Thor, and it's pretty fantastic. I don't want to give it away. So I would definitely recommend reading the first 8 issues where you like discover her identity, and then Marvel's done this weird thing with like Secret Wars and Battle World, and they've rebooted everything in the middle of series, which is really weird. But yes, read the 8 that come before this one. It's pretty fantastic, and I love Thor as a female. Like I love this incarnation of Thor more so than I like Odin's son, actually. I'm kind of dreading the day that they eventually bring back Odin's son, because you know they're going to, but it's fantastic right now. I have been reading New Avengers. I don't know whether or not I recommend it. The main draw for me is the fact that it has Mockingbird on it and Squirrel Girl. It's kind of, I'm not so big on these team up comics as opposed to like individual comics, because I find it gets a little convoluted, the story gets a bit lost. But yeah, those are the main reasons that I'm reading it, as Squirrel Girl and Mockingbird. Yeah. So next up is Paper Girls, and this is an independent one. It's by the same writer as Saga, so if you're into Saga, I would recommend this. I'm not that into Saga, but I like Paper Girls. It's very 80s vibe. Basically, it's about a bunch of paper girls who like deliver papers, and aliens invade the Earth. That's basically the premise. There's a bunch of paper girls and aliens invade the Earth. It's a little bit weird, but it's an independent one, so you know, I'm following it, or like more independent than Marvel and DC. Next up is another kind of weird one, but it's DC, and it's really fantastic, and it is Prez. I've read all of the 6 issues that have come out. It's basically, in a world where social media dominates and you can vote by social media, a girl who has a viral video becomes the president of the United States, and it deals with how like corporations have become people and like all kinds of issues like that. It's really fantastic. Very subtly mocking like our current social economic kind of, like it's taking it to extremes, but it's pretty fantastic. These are all boring. I wouldn't recommend these. Silk's a decent one. The previous run was pretty good. I am continuing with this run, but I like Silk. I have some issues with Silk, but I do like Silk. Basically her name is Cindy Moon, and she was bitten by the same spider as Peter Parker. So after the spider bit Peter Parker, it bit Cindy Moon, but because there's all this crazy stuff going on, this is part of what's kind of annoying about trying to get into comics when you're new, is like there's all this backstory and you have to do all this research, and it's kind of frustrating. But there are these people called the Inheritors, and they were trying to gather up all the spider people, and Cindy Moon was locked away in a bunker for like 10 years, and she lost her family, and then she came out and she's got the same powers as Spider-Man, and yeah. It's a female-led spider person comic, which I'm very fond of. As you'll see, there's like 2 others on this list that I love. And it's nice because she's not white, like she's Asian American. So it's nice to see not white people in comics, because, you know, a lot of the times it's just, it's a little white. But yeah. Next up, there's gonna be like 3 spider people in a row. I'm sorry. But there is Spider-Gwen, who is my favorite of the spider people. Basically, it's an alternate universe in which Gwen Stacy becomes Spider-Woman and Peter Parker becomes the Lizard, which you find out in the first issue anyways. So that's not really a spoiler, and it's basically pretty fantastic. There's one point in like the Spider-Verse series where she's talking to like our Peter Parker, and they talk about how Gwen Stacy was fridged off a bridge. To those of you who are new to comics, fridging is when a female character is killed off to further a male character's storyline. Gwen Stacy. If any of you have seen Amazing Spider-Man 2, you know that this happens. It's pretty awful. Yeah, and the term comes from, I think it's Green Lantern, in which his wife or his girlfriend was killed by the villain and then stuffed in his fridge. So it's literally called fridging when they do it. But yeah, she's like kind of frustrated that they make reference to the fact that Gwen Stacy in the original like Spider-Man was fridged, which is pretty fantastic. The artwork's really great. Just read the current issue like right before I started filming this. I'm curious about the take they're going in. I'm not gonna say too much because it's like 6 issues. No, it's 3 issues in. But yeah, there's a series before this and there's like 5 issues. So I would check that out, and then it reboots again and there's 3 more issues. It's, oh Marvel, why you have to be so confusing? Next up is Spider-Woman. Oh, Jessica Drew is fantastic. I love Jessica Drew. She's in the new series that got rebooted because Marvel. She's pregnant, and it deals with the implications of a pregnant superhero. She's fantastic. The first run before the reboot basically deals with super villains' wives running away because of domestic abuse. So definitely deals with some interesting things. Yeah, I would recommend that. Oh,